Hey, 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 Shannon and Shine here. I hope you all are having a great time wherever you are listening from. I actually took a little bit of a break from Awakening with the Girls. If you didn't notice, that's okay. I'm currently working on a series that I want to release. I might call it season 3 because it is more galactic and spacey. So if you're someone into star seeds and galactic things, stay tuned for upcoming episodes. And I was going to wait until that season to kind of start back up. But I remembered I have this interview in my vault collection of awesome interviews. And this is actually an interview with my friend Mecca, who I am super excited to let you guys know actually has her own podcast now on the Bring Me to Life network with her friend Ashley. And it is called Incense and Whiskey. So this episode was actually recorded, I believe, back in like April and May. So there may be a few things that you hear that have shifted since that happened, because 2020 has been such a roller coaster. My friend Mecca is now actually in Chicago instead of DC. And yeah, I'm just really excited for y'all to meet her and to check it out. And after this episode, go check out Incense and Whiskey while you wait on me to get the Galactic series of Awakening with the Girls out. I also want to give you guys a little heads up. While we recorded this episode, we did have a few technical difficulties. My power went out, Mecca's computer froze, but there's so much amazing content that I really, really want you all to listen the whole way through to this episode and learn something new. I'm sure you'll learn something new. And whatever it is you learn new, leave it in a comment at the Bring Me to Life community on Facebook, which is our group. You can chat with us in real time. So, all right, that's enough of me chatting. Let's dive into this episode. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Awakening with the Girls. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Awakening with the Girls. I'm super excited for today's guest. Can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are and where you come from?
Hi, I am Mecca Perry. I live here in DC by way of Arkansas, Chicago, and California. I've landed here in DC. Um, a little bit about myself. I would say I'm in the middle of a spiritual awakening, transitioning from one type of career to another, and I'm just learning all the things along the way.
I love it. So, when you say you're in a spiritual awakening, what does that feel like for you?
Some days have been absolutely like fantastic where I feel like there's little knowledges, pieces of information that's, transmitted to me. To sometimes I feel overwhelmingly sad and I have no clue why, but then I know everything's okay. Um, I also feel like it's almost like I'm in a scavenger hunt. That's kind of how it feels. Like I'm just learning these little. I get one clue, then I go to the next, and I'm looking for the next clue. Okay, read this, make a right, and that's kind of how it feels like I'm on this ongoing scavenger hunt, but not in a bad way, more in a way that I'm learning every step of the way.
Mm.
Um, I'm learning every step of the way, and then things that once that I here for things that used to be quote unquote normal for me are becoming like, oh, I'm not interested in that anymore. And
Mm.
things are just kind of fading away softly, quietly, without a big disruption in my life, which is, it could be good, it could be a little sad, but it doesn't feel like the world is ending when something or someone ends.
I love that. It is definitely like a scavenger hunt. I'm always saying I'm following the synchronicities of whatever kind of scavenger hunt spirit leaves for me. Um,
Right.
I've been on the journey in the roller coaster hunt for quite a while. I'm curious, when do you feel like you kind of started diving deeper into your spirituality? Was there like a trigger that set you in this direction, or anything that inspired it?
I was talking about this with a friend the other day, and it's one of those things that there's always been this like sense of who I am for years. I would say going back to high school, how I became like a therapist for, well, I would say it starts when I was a bit younger. I was always kind of like the go-to person for advice, or just like, what's your opinion? And I didn't really understand why. And I didn't even understand some of the answers I would give people because after the conversation, I would be like, where'd that come from? Um,
All right, those of you listening, fun fact, in the middle of this interview, I actually lost power, and then Mecca's computer did some wild things. So there's a few spots where we have a little bit of a space. So we're going to dive back in right now. No idea why it went up.
Weird. I know.
I was like, I'm so excited to hear this story. Okay, so we were talking about when you started your awakening, and
Right.
you can start wherever you feel comfortable, but I believe you were starting to tell me about in school people would come to you.
Well, actually, I ended with fast forward to 2017. I wanted to work with a life coach, and I wanted someone that also practiced spirituality as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, I believe I was in. I don't know, um, there was a lot of Reiki healing. There was a lot of remembering, a lot of learning that I did have. And I would say, it was one of those things like, oh, I really just, I love this feeling. I love that there's things that I can do to kind of like make my life, I can conduct the way I want my life to go. And I was remembering these techniques and rituals that I can do to kind of elevate myself. And I would say I've been practicing that, practicing and learning and gaining more knowledge over the last few years. So moving here to DC was almost like a little bit of an isolation for me, because I'm not around a lot of friends or family. So it's really me diving deeper into what I originally was learning and remembering, and to a point where there's certain practices that I can do, that I can practice on my own. I don't always need to feel like I need to go outside of myself. It always is nice to get confirmation from others, but I have definitely gotten a little bit more in tune and trust the decisions and messages that I hear now.
I love
So
that. Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's really important to find that inner joy and that inner comfort. I know I was somebody growing up that I always felt like I needed to be surrounded by friends or somebody to almost like witness my experience with me, but I found a lot more comfort recently in just witnessing it myself and doing what seems like is best for me and my character. Not necessarily that I don't care about others. I do everything I do for others, but it's not as much as I need to be surrounded by that energy all the time. And I'm sure in DC, you're still surrounded by so much energy all the time.
Yes, I agree.
So that being said, you said that you started looking for different teachers and things like that. How did you kind of feel into what's worked for you, and what's maybe something that's worked the best for you so far?
I've looked at other teachers and what has worked best for me. Meditation has been huge. I feel like I practiced it before, but now I would say I would definitely during quarantine, but before that, moving here, because there was always a lot more me time, I upped the practice to at least twice a day now, in the morning and the evening. And from there, I just feel like I get more grounded every time. And I don't know how to describe it. I get to this feeling of being able to call in what I'm asking for. The question was like, how did I move around, I guess, with meeting people?
Sorry, you cut out on me.
Oh no, I was letting you finish your sentence.
I was going to say, just kind of like, what were some of the things that inspired you? You said you're always on a scavenger hunt. So what are some of the things that kind of helped you inspire, follow the pieces of the scavenger hunt for what's worked for you?
Seeing that I was on the right track. I never felt like I was being led down a rabbit hole that didn't serve me. So I feel like I was always, whatever new turn that I took or what new person I met, even using you as an example, Shannon, like every person served this place in my life that just added value and uplifted me. So it wasn't anything that ever was like, oh, I'm going to let you know it's always some new like lightning or aha or some type of learning, something that enhanced my life. I was looking for someone that can offer Reiki sessions. I was looking for someone that can I didn't understand tarot cards. I think that's how we met. I was looking for
Mm-hmm.
someone that can like do a reading or a tarot card. I had been in DC for about 4 or 5 months, and I was like, oh, I really want a reading, but I couldn't figure that out. I found this little mindfulness studio that was offering this class. You were on there. I ended up reaching out to you
Synchronicity.
directly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
synchronistically, we ended up not being able to do the event we were supposed to meet at, but it led you to contacting me directly. And now we have a much deeper friendship than we may have had we just met in passing at the
right.
original event. So I thought that was really a beautiful synchronicity for us. Um, and on top of that, you were able to kind of go with that flow and see what worked for you. So I think that that's really awesome. Um, and you've taken
Yeah.
knowledge too and found ways to share it with others, which is super awesome.
Exactly. When I moved to DC, I was on the hunt to work at I'm here working at a bed and breakfast because that's what I wanted to start. I wanted to open up my own bed and breakfast. I wanted to learn the business and then go out and open up my own and just, really get into hospitality. And then I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to open up a bed and breakfast. I really want to just, run in the fields and add my joys and spiritualities to the world and uplift everyone else. And I was like, well, how do I do that? That's not what I came here for. So then let's go another ebb and flow of me saying, hey, wait a minute. You can still do the things that you want to do, but in the way that you want to do it. So you can still create this bed and breakfast. It doesn't have to be based off of what you've experienced over the last year. You can make it your own.
I think that's a dream that I really hope to see come to life, is a way that you can incorporate your spirituality in your kind of original dream ventures. So we were talking about how you kind of followed the signs for new things that were maybe going to work for you, maybe not. I know when we first kind of connected, you wanted to dive into tarot, but we couldn't meet in person. So you had a little bit of a block, and then we started meeting online. Did that kind of change your perspective of how energy could travel and connect?
Oh, of course. I mean, when I made the appointment with you, I thought that I was going to come to your location for a 30-minute reading. And I had that said. I took in the time, blocked the time off until I realized that you were like 3 or 4 hours away from me. And I was like, oh, I can't drive out there for 30 minutes. Like, I was like, oh no. And then you offered a Zoom call. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I've never done this over Zoom. I don't think it works over Zoom. This person needs to see my energy, feel my energy before there's a reading done over the phone or a video call. So I was very reluctant to proceeding with a video call with this, and it was all my own feeling of like everything needs to happen in person. Like it needs to be in person. There needs to be an energy exchange, and that was April 2019, and we've only met now over video chat, and it's been phenomenal. And the energy exchange is still there.
And I feel like we are like closer friends than some of the friends I do have in person. Like while we were off recording for a minute, I was like, "Oh, she's got a new plant," and I'm like, "I don't even know if some of my friends in my hometown have new plants." I was thinking about that. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is kind of cool." You see into the portal of everybody's little like home life, and I think
Their
it's
world, right?
yeah. The Great Pause has been interesting, but yeah, we've been doing this since before the Great Pause, and I love that you've been along for the journey. And so we were talking about your journey a little bit and how you found like a meditative space and how you decided that you had wanted to do something like a bed and breakfast, but it's interesting how you've been on your journey and you kind of went full circle with it. You thought it wasn't something you wanted to do this other thing, and now you've started to find ways to incorporate the things you love kind of together. And how does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it feels so good. I felt like there was a lot of resistance when I got here. I was excited about the B&B, and then once I started working in the field and it became my day to day, there was a lot more resistance to wanting to create a life around this. And then I had to think about what were the things that made me feel good. What are the things that I enjoyed doing? And so once I put those pieces together with retreating, and retreating doesn't necessarily meaning go to a different location. Retreating for me at that, when I was thinking about it, was being able to retreat into myself. Because, you know, working in hospitality, you're always like giving and talking to people. So I needed an outlet to just like be quiet, get to myself, and just heal. So then I can pour out to somebody else again. And I kind of felt like I wanted to create a space for people to come and heal, retreat within themselves, and then they go back out and pour into others. So just kind of like a recharge, right? Like I'm coming to jump the battery off, you know, and bring in other practitioners that will practice with them and raise their vibration up. And so I wanted to create a space around that. So it's a very intentional B&B. It's not where you know, oh, I just need a place to stay because I'm in town visiting. No, you intentionally booked this space because you wanted to have this experience in my space.
Well,
so that's where I am now, and it felt really, really good to come to that conclusion for myself.
Yeah, and it's still something you're bringing to life, so I'm excited to see how it progresses and grows with you. And it's all about that journey. So in each of my Awakening with the Girls episodes, I've been kind of enjoying asking people different references. Like, what if you could recommend a book or a movie or any sort of resource to somebody who's just getting into the awakening or this process? What has kind of like inspired you, or what's a book maybe you're even reading right now?
Oh boy. Gosh, there's so many. I literally have a stack of books. Oh, okay. Let's see. I think that, okay, I'll give this little quick range. There's two books that I would recommend. One is a soft kind of introduction, and one is a very much so go hard, go roll, we got work to do kind of book. So the soft introduction that like really kind of just massages you into it. And it's not necessarily a spiritual book, but it helps you with your creativity and understanding Big Magic. Big Magic by Liz Gilbert.
I'm reading that one right now, actually. That's so funny.
Yeah, I got it from, I actually had already started in the practice, but I found a book when I was looking for it was a creativity workshop that I was entering in. And that was one of the books that was recommended to kind of really get your just understanding what her definition of magic meant. But, you know, it kind of made it general to make you feel good. So that book, but then there's so many different books that kind of like, that can speak to you on so many different levels. You know, Ask and You Shall Receive by Esther Hicks. Am I saying this right?
I believe so.
It's called Ask and You. Hold on. Ask and It Is Given. It's called Ask and It's Given. Learning to Manifest Your Dreams by Esther and Jerry Hicks. So it's a special book that kind of they've used their gifts to share with the world, but then also teaches you how to manifest your desires and how easily it can become. That's a book that I'm reading. I'll tell you what it all started this though, is this the book that actually like started where I am is it was called The Science. Well, that was the name. Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles.
Mm-hmm.
And then Creative Mind and Success by Ernest Holmes. So those are a couple of books that I went to. I would say if you're really into it and you want to learn everything from the pieces of your body, how you use your body, the book by Queen Wa, called The Sacred Women. She's been around for years, you know, at a time when I was like, oh, look at this lady. She's so much older than me, but she looks so beautiful. She's taking so much good care of herself. And even today, I think she has to be 70 or 80, but she looks amazing. And she's still on the same plaque of using your body as an instrument to uplift the world in a way of teaching you how to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. So, yeah.
Those are all good ones. I'm excited. No, that's fine. I want people to be able to share different resources that have led them down a path that is inspiring to them, because I can only read so many books. I could read all day, every day, and I'm only going to get so much knowledge. But if we continue to share the books that inspire us the most, it can maybe help somebody else. So I think that's really great. Through all that knowledge and the reading and the things you've learned along the way, my next question for you is, what is a bit of advice you would give your younger self or somebody younger than you in this journey?
Mm. Do not rush the process.
That's a good one.
Just take it as it comes. Let your brain be a sponge, meaning be kind to yourself and absorb the information, and try not to like put up a blockage or any type of judgment around what you've learned or seen, and just kind of really be free flowing with it. Like a sponge, meaning like, when you have a sponge, when it's wet, it absorbs whatever you're cleaning, a soap, whatever, it absorbs that. But when it's not wet and when it's not in a state of wanting to be taught, then it's a hard piece of sponge and you really can't get anything through it. So you just want to always keep yourself agile and observe. I can't get the word out.
Observing
Information and being free with it. Everything may not serve you. Everything may not be something that is a match for you. It's okay. You have to get what you have and then take what works for you. But just don't rush the process. It'll all come. I say that because I'm someone that everything had to happen yesterday. Everything. So I'm learning that when it's my time, it comes up. There's nothing that I've left on the table. Time did not run out. I'm not running out of time. There is going to be enough resources for me and everybody else. So I didn't miss the boat on anything. Just like, you're not going to miss the boat on anything. So just be patient. That's probably what I would say.
I think that's a really good one. Being patient has been a big lesson for me too, and just knowing that everything has its own divine time. Because I'm also like, I want to get this done, and like my partner's always like, "Why are you always trying to like rush through things?" And I'm like, "I'm not necessarily. I just feel like I only have so much time." And then Spirit's like, "Yo, you got like divine time. Just breathe through it. Like if you knew everything now, like what would the point be? You know?"
Yeah. Yeah. Life is long.
It's very
even though I know it's like life is short. You have a lot of chapters in you. A lot of life can be long. So
yeah, and you can be so many different chapters of yourself, like different decades or different sections of your life are basically like little lifetimes all of their own. So like I've had sections of my life where I owned a store and I was a store owner, and then I had sections of my life where I was a photographer, and then I was like just an artist for full time for a while, and then I was a cafeteria worker for a while, and like those were different chapters in my life, and I learned so much in all of those different segments. So like just going along for the journey is so key. So let's see. I'm trying to think of what other questions I would love to ask you. I like to ask my crystal friends, do you have a favorite crystal?
I do. Right now, I mean, I do have my favorite crystal is actually a rose quartz, and I keep it right here. I keep a little tumble right here at my computer because I'm trying to make sure I'm going into every situation with love and with an open heart. Because even if I don't disagree, I'm not for whatever it is I'm working on, or I'm resisting it. I just want to go in with love. So, and that's key for me. I know that sounds kind of general, but I mean, you're also talking to someone that I can argue whatever side that needs to be, whatever way I want it to go. There is an entire support system behind it, be it right or wrong.
I'm the same way. My partner's like, you can come up with excuses for everything of why you got to do it this one way. And I'm like, but it just makes so much sense in my mind.
Come in every situation with me. I'm learning so much about crystals. Like I do have like a little bit of a collection, and I'm just kind of like learning which ones I really love. I have this piece of amethyst that I actually sleep with under the pillow. Now, at first I never did. And someone was like, put your amethyst under the pillow. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. And so, I mean, there's so many and they serve all so many different purposes. I believe, I actually found this little crystal PDF handbook the other day that I've been kind of thumbing through, and reading.
I think that's good. I mean, you have to have some sort of resource. I'm actually trying to work on a resource for my website where people can, I mean, you can do it now with the crystals I have, but I want it to be more wide range. When you go to my website, you can go into the search option. And if you're like, I want to know more about garnet, it'll like bring up anything I've written about garnet or anything like a crystal glossary chamber. I don't know. But that's kind of some like how I've been learning as I write about the crystals. So writing about them has been really helpful. So what other...
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, like just a crystal day, like I'm going to learn about this crystal today. Kind of like you might have in like school with flashcards or something. Instead of learning about the elements in chemistry, I've wanted to learn about crystals, but that's because I love crystals and I work with them a lot. But I'm curious, like what other tools or maybe like sacred items have become important to you through this kind of transition?
Let's see. Quite a few. So I would say fire. I love candles a lot. I've learned, little ways of kind of creating my own like blessed candles and understanding like what candles I want to use for a certain outcome that I want to have. So candles, incense is big with me. I'm a big incense person. Prior to this, my mom was a frankincense and myrrh incense person. I don't know why she did when I was younger. I just thought it was something she liked. It smelled good, but I did ask her recently why, and she was like, just because it brought on the good feeling and it motivated me to get things done around the house. That was her only answer because that's what she knew. But lo and behold, that was something that was carried over to me. So I would say incense, candles. I do work with a pendulum for myself. I was learning how to like really connect with my pendulum to ask questions, or if there's little things that I feel like I want to know. I have a pendulum that I work with, and then I bought a deck of tarot cards the beginning of this year or the end of last year. So that's something I'm learning. I mean, Acra. I'm saying this wrong, but there's these layers of like the judgment, fool, and musician, and then you have like third of wands, and
going through the major
swords and
arcana and the minor
fire.
arcana.
Yeah, so that has been a process. So those are the ones I have. I know there's all kind of tarot cards that are just like a feelings and maybe there's angels, but I would say first would be my candles and incense. Yeah, that's been my those have been my go-to tools.
Well, it sounds like you like to use tools too that you can ask questions to. And I know that sometimes you like to ask me questions. So I wanted to hold space if there's any sort of questions you wanted to ask me at this point. And if not, that's okay.
Yeah, you mentioned, I know you are working on like a musical, a music aspect of your life. Like, what does that do for you in your heart? Like, it sounds like it may bring like some type of fertilizer. I mean, it helps you grow. Like, what is this music aspect of you that's like starting to
grow in me? It's like a seed. Honestly, it's interesting that you say grow, because I started trying to explain it like I don't like to say an entity because no one wants to say they have an entity within them, but it's like this beautiful flowering seed that I'm just like so intrigued by. And one of my friends actually gifted me Big Magic. So when you said that was a good one earlier, I'm like halfway through it, and it's a very good explanation of just feeling that kind of idea growing inside. I've been thinking about music for as long as I can remember. So for me, the musical journey is about being able to be my most authentic self, because it's a part of me I haven't shown to the world yet, but it's so important to me. Like I help run a radio show and I go to all these musical events, and I had this realization that music was always something that I was being told that I was doing wrong, because there seemed to be so many rules to it. So I kind of moved myself to the art rather than the music part of myself, because art, no one could tell me I was doing art wrong. It might not be detailed, it might not be the most intricate piece of art, but I couldn't do art wrong. So it was almost like a different kind of meditation and gratification for me. But with music, there's so many layers to it, and trying to get the music out of me is very much different than getting art out. But I love someone called me a wordsmith the other day because I was laying down some just rhymes, and I've always kind of spoken rhymes even though I'm not a fast speaker of them. So I'm working on that kind of like rappy, hip hoppy way of getting these messages out. And for me, I realized that if I started doing it less for me and more for spirit, it's become a lot easier because my ego's not in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to just kind of make a pact with spirit, like, okay, you've planted this seed inside of me. I got to get my ego out of the way. I like using music as being a messenger for spirit still. So instead of using my oracle cards or using just one-on-one, I want to be able to put the messages in a lyrical format so that it helps others remember that. So
Mm-hmm.
like recently I was been writing one that was like really about just finding your peace in kind of the great pause and moving forward, and instead of rebelling, healing, because that's like been a big thing for me, is like, where's the rebellion? And spirit's like, Shannon, there is no rebellion, you're supposed to be healing right now. And so it's like, okay. And it's been really interesting for me that it's kind of happened during the great pause, because I wouldn't have allowed the journey elsewise. I would have kept pushing it to the side and kept thinking, this isn't for me, I'm not good enough to do it. And that's weird to me because that's so not what I stand for, to think that I'm not for something or I'm not good enough for something. I'm always telling everybody else, like, do whatever makes your heart the happiest. But I was
Right.
intimidated by it. But I kind of was like, okay, I kept getting this download that that's what I'm supposed to be focusing on right now. Because I've got like my art stuff going. All the other parts of my chakra system felt fulfilled right now, except for my throat chakra and this connection to like my sacral chakra. So it's also like pushing this sense of confidence and like sensuality. It's like it almost makes me feel more sexy, but not in like an intimate way, but in like sexy to myself. Like I'm proud of myself. So that's what music has kind of been for me, and it's still such like I
Oh,
feel like a
good.
baby. Yeah, I feel like such a little baby in it, but it's happening. So this is a neat roller coaster.
I love it. It brings you joy. Like that brings you joy. I'm listening to you, and I mean, you guys can't see her, but I'm watching her, and she's like lighting up as she's talking.
I just feel like a
Um,
little kid. It makes me feel like a little kid again. And it was taken from me as a little kid, actually, because when I was really young, I begged for a karaoke machine when they first became a thing, and I got one for Christmas, and I would sing into that karaoke machine like nobody's business. But then like I remember playing this like cassette tape of recorded things I made in the karaoke machine at like one of my dad's parties, and they kind of at first were like, okay, this is cute, but then they were kind of like getting themselves intoxicated, and I heard them like saying really negative things. So I kind of like, that was kind of like the first trigger for me that made it kind of uncomfortable and sad. So I was like super self-conscious. And then I had a couple of other things with music. The reason people call me Shannon Shine is because I was like at a church singing This Little Light of Mine when I lost my mom, but I was singing and it like brought me joy. So that was like another thing that like hit me hard. So it was like all these things with music that brought me joy, something blocked me. And now spirit's like, you're at this moment where the world isn't this like dark crumbling around you. What will bring you the most joy right now? And I'm like, I really just want to hear music and like see live music. And if I can't go to live music, I'm gonna do it myself.
do it myself. Oh my God. What you said is so profound. It's almost like even the various artists that most, artists as yourself and musicians, music is almost like their lifeline. And
Mhm.
so when everything kind of shut down and that kind of got taken away from them, we've been watching people create their own. I think that's so beautiful. That even though it's kind of like we're gonna water you down and shut you out, people still been figuring out how to like, grow between the cracks and
Yeah.
say, okay, we still got this. So it's good to hear the fact that you are like, I'm still moving forward with this, and this is how I'm gonna bring it to the world, and you feel comfortable with it.
It's definitely like pushing me out of my comfort zone. Like I did a retreat where I had to write a song in like 4 days. It was like on Zoom, and there was like 30 something of us. And like I don't typically sing in public. When I first started my chakra challenges, I started to sing on Throat Chakra Day. That's kind of how I introduced me showing up in public for that, because I was like, I'm teaching this knowledge about people needing to activate each of their chakras, and singing is like such a huge part of the throat chakra, and it like is also my biggest fear. So I was like, all right, it's time to like pull the cocoon off and
Yeah.
like set the example here. We're all going to sing on this live feed.
And it felt so good. And so many people like reached out to me and were like, we could tell you were uncomfortable, but you did it. And we're so proud of you. And I was like, this is what people need. People need somebody to be willing to be uncomfortable to teach them that it's okay. And I've kind of just taken that role on like, okay, this is my most uncomfortable thing. I'm going to figure this out.
Yes, trust me. I mean, and and bringing that back, that's one thing that you definitely have helped me with. I was not into making videos. I was not into, sharing what I've learned to other people, and not from a selfish point, but more of a like concerned of what someone else may think, or that's not something that's on brand. But then I'm like, it only has to look the way you want it to look, and you really help kind of like push that along. You don't know how much I've even accomplished, because I'm like, oh, I'll do that later. I'm not going to do that. But you really, in a really great nurturing.
Because I want to see you succeed. Like, I want to see you. I want to see anyone listening. Like, I just want people to follow their dreams, because, one of the other things I stand for is like, I lost so many people so young that didn't get to follow their dream or do what they wanted in life, that I don't want to see anybody not do that. So if it's something you want to do, girlfriend, I want to see you do it, and I'm going to be your cheerleader. And you, speaking of that, you've been doing a lot of showing up on your different platforms. So let's tell everybody, where can people find you in the virtual world? What are you working on? Where are you at?
It's still in its infancy stages, but I am on Instagram. It's Mecca, MECCA _elevated. So that's Mecca elevated, Mecca _elevated on Instagram right now. Website is going to come pretty soon, but right now you can follow me on Mecca _elevated. Sorry. And, just kind of see what I'm putting out there. And that's where I am right now.
All of those beautiful things. Well, I've had a really great discussion, and I've enjoyed having you, but I want to give you space. Is there any final kind of like messages or anything channeling through you that you really want to get out there before we hop off for the day?
Yeah, I didn't explain this, but earlier I went through this shamanic healing temple activity. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that kept coming up was the work that I do, the work that we do, the work that, light workers, the work that people do to improve themselves. It doesn't just stop with you. You're doing this so you can also help other people. Anyone that's not even at a point where they want to be helped yet. Like, you're raising your vibration, I'm raising my vibration to be able to assist the next person. So, it is, but it was almost like we all need to be in a position to heal. So we can also be the uplifters for anyone that's not seen it yet, and it's not going to be ready. Like, when we heal and we elevate ourselves, we're doing it not only for ourselves, but for other people to bring them along. I just kind of see like this image of grabbing someone's hand and bringing them up. Like, that is what keeps coming up. Like, oh, grab this person's hand, bring them up. Let me help this person. Almost like you're bringing them into a ship or something. That's what keeps coming up. So just know that when you're doing things to elevate yourself and to grow in any part of your life, it not only helps you, but it also helps other people in the path that you walk in. So I just want to say that. It just came to mind.
No, I think that's one of the most beautiful messages that we've received through here, is that just by being you and following what brings you joy, you're inspiring others. You're being the light that others need. So I love that's what channeled through from this discussion for you. And I'm really looking forward to having you back on future episodes. I know you got some other cool things in the works.
Thank you.
It's all happening, and it's just beautiful to connect and be able to have such beautiful connections through time and space. So So thanks for being here. Thanks for those that are listening. Go check her out at Mecca Elevated on Instagram. There's an underscore in there, I believe, between them.
Yep, Mecca _elevated.
Yes, if you can't find it, send me a message on Instagram. I'll send you her link. You can find me at Shantastic Shine. You can find the network at PBM2L, which stands for Project Bring Me to Life, which is the network that helps us keep adding all this inspiring content. So go check out Bring Me to Life with the number 2.com, and we will look at you next time, or check in with you next time. And I hope you stay awake and shine on always.
Woo!
Bye.
Bye.
I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I just wanted to pop in here and give you guys another quick reminder to go check out Incense and Whiskey on the Bring Me to Life network. My friend Mecca here is one of the co-hosts with her friend Ashley, where they talk about all kinds of things from mindfulness to memes. And I highly suggest just go give it a listen, check them out, see what they're up to, and leave us a comment on your favorite social media. And don't be alarmed if you don't see instant episodes of Awakening with the Girls every week. We took a little bit of a break off as I am actually working on that galactic series that has been a request from many of you. So stay tuned as I release the galactic series here soon with my friend BP. And again, in the meantime, there's plenty of things to check out on bringme-to.life.com. All right, this time for real now. Bye. Thanks for shining on with us.